how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm Kay. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm Lauren.
So, I just wanted to go over with you a little bit about our first session, sort of how it's going to be formatted and what we're going to be going over. Today's going to be a lot of intake stuff, so we may not be getting to the actual, real deep issues, the real body of what we're going to talk about. I just mainly want to get to know you and get a good foundation of where you're at right now.
Okay.
Also wanted to cover with you disclosure. What we talk about in here is going to be between you and I. I'm not going to discuss it with anyone else. There are a few exceptions. If you tell me that you're having the thoughts of hurting yourself or plans to hurt yourself or suicide, things like that, obviously I have to tell someone. My job is to keep you safe, and I want to do that. Another incident may be abuse situations. If you disclose something about abuse, again, to keep you safe, I'd have to disclose that. I might be court ordered, which in that case I would have to let them have your record. And I might, if it's okay with you, I might consult with other professionals. It would be just between them and I. If I think someone might have some input or expertise, something that I think that I can use to help benefit you, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So, also, like I said, it's going to be a little bit more formal. I might be taking some notes if that's...
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Well, let's get on to you then. Let's talk a little bit about what brings you here and, what issues you think are most important to work through right now.
Okay. Well, I decided to come in because I just started a graduate school program for law to get my law degree, and I also started a job at a law firm, and I am having a lot of anxiety and nervousness and anxiousness and worries about my job, and it's starting to kind of affect my schoolwork because, so for example, what really happened was I made a mistake at work, and it bothered me so much and I worried about it so much, and that I wasn't able to study for a test, and so I just kept getting distracted and I couldn't focus on studying, so I just gave up, and I ended up failing the test, and so I decided I don't want that to happen again, and so I decided, well, I need to get my anxiety under control, so I decided to come to therapy.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you're very driven. I mean, that is a high stress situation. Law school and work on top of that. I can see how that could be stressful. But I agree. I want to work with you and maybe help lessen that a little bit so you're able to function a little bit better and feel a little bit more comfortable in school and in work.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you hoping to get out of therapy? Just sort of, any thoughts or ideas? Where do you want to be when you leave?
Well, I guess ultimately I would love to have no anxiety, or at least what would be considered a normal amount, but I would like to at least lessen it enough that I can learn some skills to be able to cope with it and function properly and not have an effect on my schoolwork.
Okay, all right. Have you ever been in treatment before? Any type of therapy? You haven't? Okay, all right. Well, so what I'm getting from you is what you really want to focus on is the anxiety stemming from work that's sort of affecting your schoolwork.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. And feel free if I say something that's wrong or that's not accurate, if I'm not in congruence with how you're feeling, please feel free to correct me.
Okay.
I want to know. I want to get a better understanding of what's going on, and I'm not gonna be offended if I think you'll be helping me if you correct me on anything. So
Okay.
feel free to do that. So let's talk a little bit more about the anxiety. What does that? I guess why don't you give me an example of a time when your anxiety got the best of you, or when it sort of impacted your schoolwork, and what did that look like for you? Really, how did you feel?
Well, it's never really impacted my schoolwork before. Like, this was the first time it became so much of a problem that it impacted my schoolwork, and that's why I decided to come in. Um, but it doesn't feel good. Like, I don't know, I just feel really nervous, and like I just keep thinking about it and just over and over again ruminating about it. And just kind of beating myself up over about it, and then I just kind of get maybe a little jittery or upset. I don't know, I feel stupid or like worthless or whatever because I'm like, oh, how could I make that mistake? Or I worry about making future mistakes, and I don't know, I forgot what the question was. Kind of.
It's okay. It's okay. When did your anxiety, if you can give me sort of a time frame, how early did your anxiety start? I know you said it's just recently gotten to be a little bit worse.
Well, I don't know. I don't know exactly when it started, but I think that I've always had at least a little bit of anxiety when it comes to things outside of my schoolwork. Like, I feel really confident in my schoolwork. I've always really enjoyed learning and like reading, and I've always been pretty good at it and made straight A's, and so I've always felt very confident in myself when it came to education. But then anything sort of outside of that, I felt self-conscious, and I would worry about if I was doing the right thing or if I was good enough, or what would happen if I didn't do the right thing or I didn't say the right thing. Like I'm like if I played a sport, like I wasn't very good at it, and I was worried about not being very good at it, and so I didn't play for very long ever. And then like any sort of like sometimes social situations, like, oh, what if I say or do the wrong thing and make someone mad, or what are they gonna think of me, or whatever. So I've always had some anxiety about things, like I said, outside of education though. But just recently, it started to become more of a problem because it's starting to affect my life in a way that I'm not okay with. Because my education and getting my degree and getting a job is really important in this field.
Okay. So you had mentioned outside of school, aside from school and work right now, that maybe certain social situations cause you some anxiety. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the relationships you have outside of school and work. How do you interact with people outside of those situations?
I mean, I have like my classmates and my teachers, and I interact like well with them. Like if we're talking about school or whatever, or working on a project together or whatever, that's fine. But like, I don't really interact with anyone in like a social way, um, except for my family. Um, but I do interact with my family a lot. Like, um, they're my, I mean, I'm good friends with, like, I guess, I mean, yeah, I'm like my sister's my best friend, or, you know, um, and so I'm really close with all my family members.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your family? Since
Yeah.
we're talking about that.
Yeah. My mom and my dad, they've been married for, oh gosh, I don't know, forever. And they have a pretty good relationship. They've always been good parents, and they've always had a pretty good relationship with each other and set like good practices, or they were good models for us, I guess. Um, they did go through like one rough patch when I was younger, but it wasn't anything crazy, and they got through it. Um, and they're still together and happy. And then there's three kids, and I'm the middle child. I have a younger brother and an older sister, and we're all about 10 years apart in age. Um, and my sister, she lives here in the same town with me, so we get together a lot, and do things together. And my brother, he's still um, he's in a different town than me, and he's still in school. And since we're so far apart in age, when my sister left to go to college, I was still really young, and I didn't really fully understand, and I kind of felt, I don't want to say abandoned, because that makes it seem like she did something wrong, but she just went to college. But I did feel lonely, and I was sad that she left. And I didn't want my brother to have to go through the same thing. So I keep in touch with him all the time. I call him at least twice a week, I would say, to make sure he's okay and he's doing good. And so I have a good relationship with him and my sister and my parents.
Well, that's great. It sounds like you have very good support system. I know how that can be an older sister too, and I know that I don't know, it's hard leaving your siblings going to college, so I can relate a little bit. I don't know exactly how you feel, but I can relate a little bit, I think. So you said that your sister's your best friend.
Yeah,
You're
I
very
would say.
close with her. So how did I guess let's talk a little bit about how it felt when she went off to school. I know you said you didn't want to call it being abandoned.
Yeah.
But
I mean, she was, 18. You go to college around 18.
Mhm.
So I guess she was around 18. I would have been around 7 or 8. So we were young. Like, I didn't really fully understand. And so I was sad and kind of heartbroken that she was gone. I mean, like, you grow up with somebody and they're there. You see them every single day, the good and the bad. And then when they're just gone, it's sad. And especially when you're young, you don't really fully understand why. So, I mean, I understand. After a while, I don't want to say got over it, but I kind of came to understand that she went to college and she came back during the summers, but so I was sad. I mean, I feel like that's normal. If somebody's sad that their sibling moves out.
Yeah, I think that's completely normal.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, like you said, you grow up with somebody and you're around them all the time, and suddenly they're not there anymore. But So is your relationship with her good now?
Yeah.
You see her often now?
Yeah, we don't like live together, but she's married, so she has a small child that just born a couple of months ago, and so she lives with her husband, but she lives here in the same city, and I live here. I live in an apartment near campus, but we'll like go grocery shopping together or something like. I mean, clearly we're buying separate groceries, but like, we both got to go to the groceries, so we'll do that together. Or if my roommate is being loud or whatever, I'll go over to her house and study. And sometimes, if she needs me to, like, I'll babysit for the baby. But yeah, I think we have a good relationship, a close relationship. We talk on the phone probably every day, or text. Like if we haven't talked, we texted at least.
It's great. I think that's really great, and I think it's really great that you talk to your brother so much too. I think it's good that you recognize how you felt and wanted to reach out to him and sort of ease that for him.
Yeah.
So you said you don't experience a lot of the anxiety with your family. If you were to go out in a social situation with your family and you had to interact with other people, would there be any anxiety involved in that?
Yeah, like just because like if you're in a public setting, like there's other people around and there's still like, social, I guess, rules. Like, you're not gonna, I guess, I mean, it's not okay to like cut in line, or it's not okay to, there's like social rules that aren't really rules, but they're like frowned upon, or like people don't, So I still would, I feel with, I mean, not in relationship to my family, even though they're there, like, I mean, I would mind accidentally making like someone in my family mad. Like, I mean, I would care about that, but I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, it was an accident. But like, if somebody else, like, if I say something wrong or do something wrong, like, I don't know what would happen or whatever. Yeah. So there would be some anxiety there.
Okay. So when the anxiety, you start feeling a little bit anxious, how intense would you say it is? And if you can give me like a duration, sort of like
I guess
period
it really depends on the situation.
Okay.
So like at work, it's really bad, and I think maybe that's because it's so important to me that I do well, because this job can affect my future career too, and so I have a lot of anxiety surrounding that. And then in social situations, I mean, it's still there, but it's not as extreme. But I mean, I mean, I wouldn't say I avoid social situations. I wouldn't say that, but I don't really make an effort to go do those things either. Like, I don't know, for example, like a boy or a guy, a man, I guess, in my program, we're in the law program together, he asked me out on a date, and I mean, I contemplated it, but I kind of decided against it because, well, one, because I felt like that's not really what my priority is right now. And I have a lot on my mind with law school and my work. And I just don't feel like I have the time for, like, a relationship or even just really to go out casually right now, because I mean that's just not what's important to me currently. But so I decided based on that, and then also like I kind of was, I guess I psyched myself out a little bit, and because I was starting to get anxious and nervous and was worrying about like, oh, what would I do or what would I say or what would I wear or like act like or what, and if I said something wrong or did something wrong, what would he think? And especially if since we're in the same program together, then that could have repercussions later because it's not like I can be like, oh, well, that was a bad date. I'm never going to see you again. Like, I'm going to see him in class. And so I just kind of was like, no, I just don't think that's a good idea. But it wasn't, but I guess your anxiety or your question was about my anxiety's intensity, and I kind of rambled a little.
That's okay.
But my point was, although there was anxiety in that situation, it was nowhere near the intensity of the anxiety that I feel towards my work.
Okay. So it's a little bit more intense in the work area,
Mm-hmm.
but it is present in social situations.
Yes.
And I just, I heard from you that right now, a lot of social interaction is not what you're concerned with.
Yeah.
Do you think at some point maybe you would want closer relationships outside of school and work?
Yeah, I mean, like I see how happy my mom and dad are, and my sister and her husband are, and I'd like to have that, yeah. But it's just not my priority right now. Like, I think right now what I want to focus on and what I should be focused on is my career and my education. And I don't want anything to distract me from that or get in the way of that because it's extremely important to me. And so, maybe once I graduate and get a job and get settled in that job, like then I could dedicate some time and energy to maybe dating or like having friends and hanging out with them and stuff. But right now, it's not a priority.
Okay. I think that's a completely valid feeling. I think a lot of times students that are working as well have difficulty, managing everything, and certain things take precedence over others. So I think that is valid. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm trying to formulate
That's okay.
thoughts in my head and see what else I want to know about. How long does the anxiety last? If you were to, you start feeling anxious and then it sort of builds. It's sort of the way you were talking about it. Sort of sounds like it starts to build.
Yeah.
A little bit worse.
Yes.
What sort of time frame are we looking at from the time it starts to the time it sort of subsides?
It's kind of less of like duration of time and more of like how long I'm in that situation for. So like I work from on Sundays I work all day like from 8 till 5 or whatever on the days I don't have classes. And so like the whole day while I'm at work I'll be anxious or nervous or worried. And it starts from it kind of starts when I'm getting ready in the morning. So I start thinking like what could go wrong today or what's gonna happen or what if I do this wrong or what's, and then it kind of builds. And then as soon as I get there, it's just kind of like, blah. And then as soon as I leave, I start to feel better because it's like like the situation is over. However, I can cause myself to continue to feel bad by continually thinking about like, oh, I shouldn't have said this, or I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done this, or I should have done this, or I should have said this, or what's gonna happen, or ruminating about maybe a mistake I made or whatever. So I can make myself continue to feel bad about it by continue just thinking about it and worrying about it. But if I'm not thinking about it or worrying about it, and I'm not in that situation, I feel fine. But and that's where the problem begins, is because I'm starting to not be able to stop thinking about it, and that's where the problem really is, because I can't just stop thinking about it and focus on my schoolwork anymore.
Okay. So we're starting to run out of time. This session's a little shorter than our ones in the future. Will be like, what? Can you just very quickly maybe tell me what are some things you like to do just to relax, like when you're not at work or school? How do you sort of unwind?
I like to go for walks. I like to take my dog for a walk. So we'll go on, 2 or 3 mile walk. There's a park near my house, so we'll walk through that. Or so that's what I like to do. Just relax and kind of enjoy nature and walk with my dog. I love my dog.
Well, that sounds really nice. Really, that's something I would do to relax too. I love my pups. Before we end, I just wanted to sort of open the floor to you if you have any questions for me. Like I said, this was more intake. We're going to get into some deeper stuff later with the anxiety and stuff and the issues you want to touch on. But are there any questions you have for me so far?
Maybe just like like I said, I've never been in counseling before, and I don't think I've really known anyone who's in counseling. So I'm just not really familiar with like what happens or what I can expect, and like, so maybe I guess that would be my question is, what we'll be kind of be doing.
Sure. Yeah. It's a common question, and it's an important one. This session is a little bit shorter. I wanted to get a good grasp on what your issues are, what you want to work with. In the next few sessions, we'll be getting a little bit deeper into more specifics of the anxiety and what you want to work on and touch upon.
Okay.
Like I said, this session I sort of felt like I was kind of all over the place, like trying to get information from all different areas. So it'll be more specific.
Okay.
The next few times we're going to get a little bit more in depth.
So will it always just be like talking about things, or?
I was going to talk with you about that. You said you hadn't been in therapy before. If it's okay with you, I was just going to maybe run by you some of the techniques I think might be helpful, judging from what I've heard in the first session. It sounds like so far a lot of the issues are coming with the thoughts and the cognitions of anxiety and sort of the lasting effects of those thoughts that are happening even outside of the stressful situation. So what I'd like to do is maybe try and focus on that. I think that would be beneficial, maybe helping you think in a more positive way, or just helping you lessen the thoughts, the anxious thoughts.
Okay.
But certainly we can do, some art around that if you like art. I can do some research on some other interventions we can do. We don't have to completely talk the whole session if you don't want to. I can brainstorm and come up with some other ideas, but yeah, that's sort of what it'll be like in the future.
I mean, talking was all right. I guess it's important to kind of figure out and understand everything, but and you may have noticed that I'm kind of very like goal oriented, and I like, to do specific things that will help me move towards my goal. So if that's talking, great, but if like you have maybe some other idea of like what might help, I'm all for it.
Sure, absolutely. I can brainstorm, and I mean, I can tell you're a very driven and goal oriented person. I mean, you're in law school. That's not an easy accomplishment, and to be in law school while you're working, that's really impressive. And I think you're gonna do good. I think that the fact that you are goal oriented and you seem very articulate in session, and I've enjoyed our conversation. I think that it's gonna go well. But I can brainstorm, and you feel free to give me any input you have on how sessions might benefit you more, and I'd be more than happy to work with that.
Okay.
So, do you have any other questions, or you feeling okay about the session?
Yeah, I think it was good to kind of think about everything and kind of maybe talk about it. It's kind of made me think about maybe some of like where it's coming from and articulate some things that maybe I thought about but really couldn't, I don't know, vocalize, I guess. So I guess it's been, I feel like we're headed in the right direction. So I feel good. I feel good about it.
Good. I'm glad you got something out of the first session. Like I said, it's gonna get more in depth the next session, and we're gonna work a little bit harder on some of the deeper stuff. But I'm glad that you got something out of this session, and yeah, it was good to talk to you. It was nice to meet you, but I think we're out of time now. So I'll see you again.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
it was nice.